All right. I think we are live here. Let's see if we're actually live or not, or if it's YouTube playing a trick on me. They like to do that. Sometimes it likes to wait 30 seconds. So let's give it a minute, get a sip of my water, see what it's going to do. And then we'll discuss form a little bit, right? We'll talk a little bit about perfect form and all that. All right, let's see what it's going to do. At about the 30-second mark, it'll either run through or it will restart on me and it'll start us up real live. There we go. All right, and we are live. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would sit down and do a video for you guys and gals. Let me give you guys a bicep shot before we get started. By Cepheus. Those of you, when you get in here, if you could click the like button. Also, I have linked underneath in the description. Please, everybody, follow me on my Facebook fitness page. If you have Facebook, please click on that. It would be greatly appreciated. Follow me there, engage me there. I would greatly appreciate that. Also, if you guys get in here, let me know. Like I might even say, hey, hop over and join me there, then I'll answer your questions. But let's talk a little bit about perfect form. And I've got a video coming out tomorrow on that of saying that there's too many gatekeepers out there who essentially, guys like Squat University, complete clownery to where he thinks that if you do not have perfect form, you can't load an exercise. And this is simply not true. Guys, a lot of these concerns over form, like it has to be really bad for you to be concerned. And oftentimes, if your form is off a little bit and you still continue to get strong, it may not even create issues unless it's contributing to overuse. Also, what a lot of people don't think about with form, they don't think about number one, goals, number two, people's individual anatomy. Not everyone has the same bone structures, the same limb lengths. If you have longer, like femurs to torso, like a torso to femur ratio, your squat is going to look dramatically different from someone else, even at the same height and weight as you. Okay. Your hip angles of your individual hip joints vary a lot from person to person. So even your ideal foot positions to reach depth is going to look different from person to person. That's going to affect it. Okay. Different people have different ranges of motion of their joints. And then we come down to goals. You have to look at a squat and go, are you taking a squat as your goal to lift the heaviest weight possible in a competition, or are you using it to build quads? The same with even a pull-up or a chin-up. Are you using the pull-up for the purpose of competing in a calisthenics type event, or are you doing so for the purpose of building your lats? Well, the form may be a little bit different, okay, depending on what you're trying to do. And for people who ask certain questions, if you ask me questions about my personal life, I'm just not going to answer them. All right. So that's kind of my spiel about form, and people have to remember that. I think particularly what people have to take into account is, of course, that people will have different anatomies and they will have different goals. Like those are two enormous factors in even determining what is your quote unquote perfect form, right? Jordan, who I know very well, thoughts on 531 for advanced lifters looking for simplicity. I don't think it's that great for advanced lifters. I think most advanced lifters are going to struggle a little bit with it, right? They're going to struggle with it. And it's a good template for intermediates, but quite frankly, you could probably write something better yourself than 531 if you're an advanced lifter. Jordan, you already know my position on that. P Money says, should I aim for 0 grams of sugar in my diet? No. P Money, I have a lot of videos detailed videos about fructose metabolism. Okay, so no, you should keep refined sugars pretty low. I mean, near 0. But refined sugars would be table sugar, that would be sucrose, high fructose corn syrup, honey, right? Bees don't have magical powers that make their refined sugars have less fructose or more fiber than humans. Avon, I appreciate the donation and not a problem. Miko asked me if you consider doing the surgery to remove excess skin. I lost 150 pounds. Okay, Miko, here's the thing that I'm going to say with that. I've made videos answering that. That is an enormous undertaking. Let's assume it was free. It wouldn't cost me, say, $10,000 right now. Keeping in mind, lifting weights is a big part of my career. It's a big part of my mental health. It's a big part of my therapy. I wouldn't be able to lift weights for like 5 or 6 months. Okay. So essentially, that could be literally life destroying for me. The side effects for me of not lifting weights for months would absolutely outweigh any positives of the surgery cosmetically, even if it was free, even if someone offered to pay me money to do it. Like if a surgeon says, I want to do it for free, and then have you vouch for my work or using your YouTube stuff or something, it still wouldn't be worth it to me. That's the problem. And it's high risk. People forget that, dude, you're talking about cutting parts of your body off. It's not like there's no risk to this. You literally have tubes sticking out of your body for a couple of months. I know someone who got the surgery, by the way, who lost over 200 pounds, and he did get it. Guy for like 6 weeks had tubes sticking out of his body, drainage tubes. He couldn't work out or any of that. This is not a minor thing. And for people to even suggest to someone who has such a minor thing like a little loose skin from losing weight, is when you really think about that, that's kind of a terrible thing to suggest. Like you should go get a really high risk surgery that could really kind of mess up with your life for months over cosmetics, right? No, but I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, Miko, honestly, the most hilarious thing, only people on the internet notice, this has come up at events, and I've literally had women, when this comes up, say, really, you don't even have loose skin, who are looking at me shirtless. Okay, the internet makes a bigger deal about it, and it's been getting tighter as I get leaner. And notice when I water cut it, it kind of shrinks up. So I know that eventually it'll be tight enough that I'm not worried about it, to be perfectly fine. So again, that's almost that's near a hater level comment, brother. I'm just saying. But the way to look at it though is that, yeah, it really is like a battle scar. I use like a vitamin E and stuff like that. I use lotion, but it's just going to take time, and I'm going to have to get leaner. That's the other thing too, because loose skin, no matter how you break it down, still has fat stuck to it. Otherwise, it would just look like shrink wrap. You would be able to see through it, right? IKJ says, thoughts on Anatoly. Oh, by the way, guys, all of you watching, notice down in the description, my Facebook is listed there. If you will please follow my Facebook page and start engaging there, my YouTube audience, it would be greatly appreciated. So if you guys would please do that, thank you so much. Again, especially those of you who's commented and asked questions, please hop over and click on that and give me a little follow if you have a Facebook at all. Thoughts on Anatoly, the gym cleaner. His shtick is getting really old, and I mean, his lifts are fake. We already know he's a high 400-pound deadlifter. I've kind of made videos on that. I mean, look, if the guy's having fun with his thing, but the stick is old, it's obviously a lot of fakery. There's a lot of fake lifts because, again, sumo with bumper plates, a whoopee bar, and straps pulling over 600. He's a high 400s deadlifter. Like 480 is his best lift in a powerlifting meet, by the way. So there's that to think about. But then it's the fact that everyone knows who he is in the gyms. He's not meeting complete strangers who are big bodybuilders who can't deadlift 350 pounds. That's not happening. It's been set up after about the first few weeks. It's just he's getting people to just jump in on the joke. So at first it was kind of a funny stick, but I think after the first month of it, it kind of got old. And yeah, I still see it in my feed. But if he's enjoying doing it, more power to him. I just don't. I don't get it at a certain point. Redmond says, what's up, brother? Will you compete in powerlifting again, or are you going to stay power building? Power building would let me powerlift anytime I want, right? As far as competing again goes, I will not answer that because anytime I publicly discuss plans, I have people who really go out of their way to mess with it. So the worst thing I could possibly do is to say, yeah, dude, I'm going to compete in 9 months in Federation GQP over here. Like that would be a really bad idea, right? That would be a terrible idea for me personally, just because of the level of stalkers that I have. So if I compete again, I'm not even going to tell you guys. Avon Pierce says, why are looks maxers? I don't know. Avon, brother, I don't want to insult someone who just gave me money, but if you even understand what a looks maxer is, there's probably a problem. Okay, just throwing that out there. Like, step away from that world, dude. Like, your mental health, your ability to get girls, all of that will go up if you just forget that word and step away from whatever weird world there is that you're reading. Even reading it to make fun of people like that is going to hurt your mental health. Okay, it's going to be bad for you because you will absorb that mentality kind of almost through just osmosis, right? You'll absorb it. IKJ, in the entire body, what percentage of muscle is working barbell squat? No one on the face of the earth can give you an answer to that question. I don't even think someone with a PhD in exercise science can give you a number. So if they can't do it, I sure as hell can. Scott says form's going to break when pushing to max. Is it going to break when pushing to max? Have you watched me miss a deadlift at a powerlifting meet with perfect form and the weight just stops in the middle and comes down? Remember my last meet, I failed a 619 at the knee, and it was a smooth, beautiful rep. In fact, my state record before that, I did a 2-second eccentric and set it down gently on the floor on camera. And then the next one, when I went up to 619 to break my own record again, what happened? I missed it at the knee, and it was perfect form. So no, form doesn't break when pushing a max. You can fail a max, and it can be a beautiful bar path, and it can just come right down smooth, and spotters can grab it. Poi says, I think warming up with the empty bar is a waste of time when I do 15 plus reps. How do I put this? I would never warm up for a 15 rep set. Sorry. For me, a deadlift warm up, I usually start with 405. And I'm dead serious. In fact, that same meet we were just talking about, I didn't warm up. I walked out and pulled 508 as my opener, as my first rep. I didn't do any warming up. And I know people think that's crazy, but if you look at the research, warming up doesn't really do that much. It's debated as to whether it's even useful. Now, if you feel that you need it for prevention purposes, by all means, do not listen to me there. I don't personally warm up much other than maybe bench pressing. Weighted pull-ups or chin-ups, I do one body weight rep before I add weight. Benching is probably the only thing I really, really warm up on, maybe squatting. But even for a squat, I'll do one rep with 135, one rep with 225, one rep with 315, and then, jump into it. Is it true that shoulders are a bigger muscle group than pectorals? Yes, delts are bigger than pecs. According to research studies that have measured it. Best exercise to build abs, anything that trains them. I like hanging leg raises. Weighted crunches are great too, though. Can someone get to your fat-free mass index naturally if they work hard enough? Sure. Hey, man, I'm natural these days, man. I got like a 27 fat-free mass index. And I'm all natty right now, baby. Right? Plug my numbers in. You guys know my height and weight. You can estimate my body fat. Alexander says it's a long calorie deficit. What? Tactical small cal? What are you asking me, bro? Apu says, what do you think is better, a calorie surplus or deficit for most people? What do you mean? If you're trying to gain weight, a surplus. If you're trying to lose weight, a deficit. It's pretty straightforward. Redness said, I've heard you talk about strength standard numbers the average man should reach. How long did it take you to reach those numbers? I don't know. Here's the problem with that question, Redmond. I reached them over 20 plus years ago. I don't remember how long it took me. I can tell you which one I reached first, and that was a squat. 405 squat took me, that's the only one I can tell you was fast. That took me less than 2 years. Alex DeLarge says, Jason, I run a sub 6 minute mile of 550 while having a 405 competition squat. Would you consider this impressive? Sub 6 minute mile with a 405 squat. I think that's pretty good. Like, are we going to say, is this impressive, like as a peak amazing athlete, like elite athlete? No. But for someone who, if you were talking general fitness standards, you were easily top 1%. Okay. So I mean, just statistically speaking, you have the average gym goer beat by a pretty large margin. So, I mean, it's pretty good. I don't think anybody can hate on that. That's for sure. Sneaky P says, can a person get 90% of calories from peanut butter on keto? Sure. But why would you? Why do you need to do keto? I mean, unless you're doing it to drop water weight, like for temporary, looking leaner temporarily, it's good, but that's about the only reason to do it. And in that case, yeah, nut butters are great. Nuts can be used as your main calories. P Money says, what's the problem with red meat? The saturated fat content. The data on saturated fat is pretty massive at this point in the metabolic ward and everything else of why we don't want much saturated fat in our diet. Why do so many of the best coaches recommend 10 warm-up sets? Really? I don't know any coaches that recommend 10 warm-up sets. Alexander said, what I meant to ask is a long tactical small calorie deficit that could get you stage rips, striated glutes naturally. Yeah. Like, honestly, the natural guys who get contest shredded need more time. It takes them longer. Every single natural bodybuilding prep coach that I know who has people winning, all of them do at least 20 weeks for meet preps. Minimum. They're literally taking guys who have visible abs. Okay, example, I can tell you right now, I know multiple prep coaches who have people winning natural shows. If I were to go to them right now and say, how many weeks do I need to be stage ready? I promise you, even for where I am, and you guys can see my abs right now in my videos, right? They would tell me minimum 20 weeks. Minimum. If not more, before it to get me stage ready. So yeah, it's going to need to be real slow. Can I add canola oil to my red bell pepper to prevent heart disease on keto? Why do you need to do keto per se though? Sneaky, I'm not answering Luke's Max questions. Come on, stop with that stuff. Scott Humphreys, have you ever had a serious injury because of weight training, Jason? I like your minimal warm-ups. Yes. See that scar? From my bicep reattachment. But here's the thing. I did that on my 6th work set. I had already done multiple sets with 605 pounds when that happened. All right. And that was in, I believe, 2002, so 22 years ago or so, maybe. Does that sound right? 2002 or was it 03? I don't know. Something like that. It was over 20 years ago. That's why it's like, I can't even remember the exact year that happened here. Was it 02 or was it 03? 7 years ago. So when people said, hey, Jason, how long did it take you to reach a 315 bench? And I start trying to count on my fingers and go, well, let's see. Back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I think after the family got their second T-Rex, I might have hit that 315 with my stone plate. You know, it's like, that's why these questions are ridiculous. I don't think people realize how old I am. All right. Boy says, quads are a much bigger muscle than glutes, but why does everyone push the idea that glutes are the biggest muscle? I don't know. There have been studies that measured and found the quads bigger. Who knows? Alexander says, can you destroy adipose tissue cells via long-term slow weight loss or long-term staying lean? That's a point of contention. I don't know the exact answer off memory with the current data. If you hypothetically got stage lean, what would your body weight be, and what would your fat-free mass index be below 25? Good question. I might be below 25 if I cut down to that. Because I'm probably 27 now. I might drop under 25 if I cut down staged lean. I don't know what I would weigh. Like I'm walking around 210 right now. I'm guessing 13 to 14% body fat. So then water cut, dude, I could be as light as like 180 contest lean, maybe even less. I don't know. But I'm not going to do a bodybuilding show. I'm not interested in getting that shredded. TKS, if doing shoulders and dips, should you do dips before or after shoulders? I'd probably do dips first. I definitely wouldn't do dips with fatigued shoulders. Also, by the way, guys, follow me on Facebook down below. Their link is in the description. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm clicking the thing. I don't see nobody over there following yet. Hold on, I got it in a different tab. Some of y'all need to click that link. One person did. All right. Rob Moore says, elbows up or down when doing SSB squats? I recommend down. Alex says, Jason, I notice increasing my good morning strength has helped my strict barbell curl by giving me more form, stability, rigidity with heavier weights. Not a question, more of an observation. Honestly, I could see that. I could actually see that. Is adipose tissue endocrine system itself? I don't understand your question, Alexander. IKJ says, how to get a jawline like yours, diet down. I've been dieting leaner. That's really all there is to it. Lose body fat. Your jaw will get leaner, dude. That's it. Anna says, why are my bench and overpress rising and squat stalling? Because your legs aren't growing fast enough. Give it more time. Pooh says, I don't know if I should bulk or cut or should have seen your picture online. Tell me. Yeah, I do consultations, bro. Send me a message on social media and we can discuss that consultation. Anna says, does butt wing cause low back pain? No, not always. Miko says, what body fat percentage would you be at 180 pounds? Well, Miko, run over to a calculator. If I'm 13 to 14% right now at 210, assuming no lean tissue loss, which that's the tricky part, you'd have to plug it in, right? Run some basic fractions. I know you learned that in middle school. I don't know how to say your name with the alphabet. 174 centimeters height, 196 body weight, around 25% body fat. Is it possible to have a 22 free miss index with a 340 deadlift, 265 squat? Calculator show me 22. Isn't that too high? I don't know. That does seem a little high for your stats. I'm not sure. Plug them in though. I mean, I guess it's possible. Poy says, you said that humor is more important than looks for getting laid, but you need to get your foot in the door. For I disagree strongly. I'm going to disagree with you. I'm not even a good-looking dude. I didn't have problems. I'm funny looking. I'm funny and I'm funny looking, and that's all it takes. Sneaky Pete, I'm not going to discuss that sort of stuff because I don't want my stuff getting hit for discussing sex acts. So I'm sorry. I'm not going to have to help you there. Get over it. If your girl wants you to do it, then get over it and nut up or get a new girl. All right, before she finds someone else who does. If you did the chest expanders, you wouldn't have a 200 kilogram bench at 10% body. If I did it. Boy, you about to be gone out of here recommending that nonsense. You know sarcasm doesn't work in typing, by the way. All right. Serratus says, how does Microtrend have like 8 viewers on his streams now? Dude looks unhealthy. What do you mean? You're telling me only 8 people? Mike O'Hearn only gets 8 people viewing his streams. There's no way. Apu, I don't have TikTok. Yes, I have Instagram. It's linked underneath all my videos in the description. Alexander says high body fat levels equal high leptin. It can contribute. Sneaky says a lot of beautiful Latinas in Texas have heard must be nuts. There actually are. I'm not going to get into a discussion of that, but as an objectively true statement, that is an objectively true statement. Yes. Hoy says small traps make you look broader. True or false? Well, oversized traps can make you look narrow if you don't have really wide shoulders. Chris West says, Coach Jason, great to see you. I was out of pocket, out of country for the past few weeks. Well, welcome back. IKJ, thoughts on nucleus overload? I will forever hate on nucleus overload because it's the stupidest name ever for training. And I will clown Megan for that name, for making it up until my dying breath. That's how much I dislike that name. Instead of just calling it high frequency training. When Megan called it nucleus overload and he named it that, I clowned him for it back then, and I will clown him for it when I'm on my deathbed still for that stupid name. That's my thoughts on it. Not saying there's anything wrong with the idea, just the name is a problem. All right. All right. IKJ says powerlifting and weightlifting should switch sport names. Agreed. I've said the same thing. Oh, sneaky, 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 sneaky. You're not that sneaky. P Money says, give me a basic diet to get shredded. I do consultations. Hit me up. Tyrone Hanson says, hey, Jason, I didn't get a notification. This appears to be my recommended. Just giving you a heads up. I don't know how that works. I've never gotten a notification ever for anything from YouTube in my entire life. I don't know how that works. Also, guys, remember, follow me on Facebook down below. Reach down there and click it. Also, click them likes. Hit them likes. Why do we have more people commenting than we have clicking that like button? Right? IKJ says, but Alpha Destiny, let's not call him Alpha Destiny. I clowned him for using that stupid name, and then he finally used his awesome name, which was a great marketing move on his part. And I used to clown him for that. When I found out his real name, his real legal birth name was Alexander Leonidas, and he went with that goofy incel Alpha Destiny name. I laughed and laughed. I even laughed in a video because, come on, how can your dad give you a name like Alexander Leonidas and you not use it for marketing? I mean, think about that for a moment. This guy was given a birth name that just screams, I'm a badass. Think about that for a moment. The guy was born with the name Alexander Leonidas. All right, whatever opinion you have of him aside, that is a badass name, dude. Dude, the dude's got a badass name, and it's his real name. And instead of using it, he chose Alpha Destiny, which is lame as fuck. So let's not call him that. Let's use Alexander Leonidas, and that's what he switched over and started using, which he should have done from day one. Alex Large, Jason, trying to get to around 10% or maintain. I'm going to work down towards 10% over time. Serrata says Myco Trend got 3K views with Lee Priest after 3 days, but there's an option under. I can't believe he gets that few views. There's no way because, dude, I mean, again, Mike and I had some beef in the past, but let's be realistic. In terms of just older lifters, like masters age lifters, the dude probably has the best physique in the damn world. And his actual advice is good. Okay. And I'm saying that as someone who popped off at me once and we had beef over it, who literally threatened to slap me one time. Like literally. Okay. And I'm still willing to step back and say the dude's legit though. Right. Tyrone, thank you for that like, man. Also, you guys, please follow me on the Facebook. I'm gonna remind people. I'm gonna get that flowing. Does body fat carries a lot of toxins? That's a nuanced topic. In theory, yes, there are going to be some toxins stored in your adipose tissue. Chris West says, I was thinking you often Italy and Greece in a gladiator costume. So yeah, I had that Spartan costume. I have a newer one actually that I still have. Tyrone, no, I did not catch the vegan gains in Alex video. I don't really have much time to watch YouTube. I really don't. Alexander, exactly. Imagine having a name like Alex Leonidas. Like, dude, he was to be born with that name. Already, that gives you an edge right there. I mean, seriously, think about that as a pickup line in and of itself. Guys are talking about, I don't know how to get girls. Just imagine being born with that name and you're chatting with girls and they're like, oh, what's your name? You're like, my name is Alexander Leonidas. You're like, no, it's not. And they bust out an ID on them, right? It's like a pow. Yes, it is. Look at that. Alexander Leonidas. Respected, bitch. Right? Boy, he says, not a troll comment. How come Jack guys like you don't look that big on camera? Just proportions, because I'm probably not lean enough. Haven't got the best bicep proportions. Is what it is. Avon, I appreciate that next donation, brother. Chris West says, Coach, what is the best business class flight product in your opinion? What do you mean the business class flight product? I haven't been flying lately, to be honest. I was joking. I was flying for a lot. Serena's like, how does he only get 3,000 views with 1 million subs? Poy says, Mike O'Hearn's physique doesn't fluctuate like other gurus. Why is that? You want my real opinion? All right. And I've said this before, and I get people who get mad. I don't think he's a heavy abuser, number one. And I know you get people who are like, dude, there's no way. And here's my reply. Number one, look how slow he gained it over the decades. Number one. Number two, he's in his 50s and still in really good health. I think that's a big part. I don't think the guy uses tons of gear. I don't think he ever has used tons. He's got good genetics. He's been consistent, probably very casual, small amounts, and just trains his ass off. His training is always dialed in. Dude's training is dialed in. As a professional, but Chris, I'm really not a professional YouTuber anymore. It's not my biggest income source, right? I mean, my coaching makes more than my YouTube by a pretty substantial margin. Let me state that again. My coaching generally makes more than my YouTube did at the peak of my YouTube channel. So am I really a professional YouTuber? Tyrone says, hey, Jason, what exercise would you pick if you could only pick one exercise for upper body for the rest of your life? I'm not going to answer this because it's violent. I've always given a traditional answer, and it involves pulling the button on a device pointed at the person limiting me to 1 or 3 exercises. And then once they are no longer there, I can do whatever exercises I want. Right? Or I could, instead of something like that, let me just say, how about just a love tap to the person trying to stop me from doing multiple exercises. That's the only exercise that I need, and then I can do whatever I want. They can't stop me anymore. P Money, appreciate the donation. Oh, and answer your other question, should I never? Pork probably isn't the best thing in the world to eat for you, to be honest. Dolores says, have you ever done a 23andMe? No, I haven't. How do you keep your Peter from pulling a scary turtle during deadlifts? I don't think about it during that. Redman says, is YouTube made for from live streams or videos? Live streams make the same ad revenue other videos do, right? You know, so you figure from YouTube, you're going to get your donations here. Those are going to be small. Like I've never made much on donations. Your ad revenue is going to be the biggest chunk. Your channel memberships are going to be a little bit. I always have channel memberships. Then you have the little product clicks, which you make $5 or $10 here or there, right? But the ad revenue is always going to be the biggest chunk. It's always going to be the biggest chunk. Coach, Chris says, I wake up with my mind racing around 2 a.m., eat, handle some client work, go back to sleep, wake back up around 6 a.m. to train. No, dude, I do that sort of stuff myself, man. Although lately, not so much. I've been training with this a little later. Serratus, I don't know what that means. Avon Pierce has just joined the Orc Warriors. Appreciate it, brother. Yeah, so we got the channel memberships. Yeah, for those who are unaware, I also have channel memberships. So feel free to join, guys. He got his Orc Warrior. I appreciate it, brother. Alexander says, do you have weight stalls and flushes? I call them whooshes, but yeah, everyone does. Avon says, thoughts on nicotine gum? I've never tried it. I don't have any experience with it, really. Tyrone says, hey, Jason, it's just a hypothetical question. What upper body exercise gives the most bang for your buck? Okay. Most bang for your buck. Man, I'm all right. This might surprise people. I'm going to go with chin-ups or maybe incline bench, dude. I don't think anyone was expecting me to say incline bench. But why would you only do 1 or 2 exercises, you know? Yeah, any form of weighted pull-ups. I mean, chin-ups just because of the bicep, but weighted pull-ups definitely, or any pull-up variation. Chris West says, Coach Noel, I thought you were joking about the European dairy and lactose intolerance and Air France first class, all kinds of French dairy and the meals of man, did it hit me wrong? Dude, I was dead serious. I was not kidding about that. Like, you might have thought I was kidding, but I was legitimately serious. I didn't have those problems with milk in Texas. And when I was in the UK, every glass of milk I had in that country, and it didn't matter if it was organic, regular, the cheap stuff, the more expensive stuff, they gave me diarrhea every single time I drink it. And most of the protein powder there, like any of their local companies that made protein powder, did the exact same thing. Okay. Avon says, I am Avon Nork. Yes, you are. Poy says, how leader Michael Hearn's genetics 1 in a million? I don't know how to quantify that. I mean, the guy obviously has good genetics for building muscle, insertion, structure, all that stuff. I mean, he clearly does. You know, and the guy trains crazy hard and very smart. P Money says, I have a pot belly, but not super fat. Will I get loose skin? Probably not. Tyrell says, how would you rate the meat in the UK? Is that a serious question? Keep in mind, I'm from Texas. I am born and raised in Texas, originally on a cattle ranch. And the UK is a tiny island that's wet and dark and doesn't have proper fields to graze animals to the same degree. So based upon the fact that they do not have a proper environment to raise livestock very efficiently, and I am from Texas. How do you think I rate the meat in the UK if you had to make a guess? On a scale of, say, 1 to 5, 5 being phenomenal, 1 being near the bottom, like third world country level. I'm going to put it at about a 2. Not quite third world, but it's pretty rough. Snow Crow says, is there a type of routine upper lower body part that you find personal? I've been liking the body part split I'm doing lately. GoJag says you've done periods of doing only rows and no vertical point for back right. Would you recommend it for someone whose lats are overpowered and grown about? Possibly. I mean, look at my lats are overpowered and grown, But it's also, I don't think it's purely genetics in that case. Of course, it is my structure. I do have a really big rib cage. Like people thought that I lifted and played football when I was like 13, 14. But I get a good mind muscle connection in my back. I really do. I've always been able to just kind of take exercises and know how to do them in a way to where my lats contract really easy. And that's why I just roll my eyes when people don't like the way I perform a row or a pull up or anything. I'm like, guys, look at my back, and I get a ridiculous pump and contraction in my back. So, Chris says, what are the channel benefits of joining the Orc Army? You get the symbol. You get some special gifts you can use and stuff too, if you can figure out where they're at. Avon Pierce says, would you say a happy birthday to my little brother, Quan Pierre? Yes, I'll say happy birthday to you, especially since you just joined the Orc Army, man. You know what? Happy birthday to your brother, Quan. Thoughts on inverted rows instead of barbell rows? I like inverted rows if you're not strong enough to do other stuff. I've done inverted rows. I've done even with a weight vest, with plates, with chains, body weight. I've done them on camera in the past. I like them. Chris, no, aesthetics is more than that. I mean, you can do a lot to improve your aesthetics. Avon says, can you name 5 shoulder exercises to incorporate for a specialization phase? Yeah, overhead pressing, laterals, upright rows, rear delt flies, band pull aparts. There you go. Bam. Done. All right. Speaking of which, how was your experience living in the UK? How long did you live there? I was there for 3 years. I don't know how I would describe my experience. I mean, like any place else, there are pros and cons to the UK. Keeping in mind, I have lived in other parts of the U.S., like New Mexico, when I was in high school. From the time I was like 14 to 17, I lived in New Mexico and then came back while we were in high school. I spent a little time in Oklahoma, and I've traveled around. But all of that aside, the culture shock. I mean, the culture is so dramatically different. Keeping in mind, I am from Texas, which already has culture shock compared to much of the rest of the United States. Again, just a different world outlook. A lot of culture shock. One of the things, though, that always did surprise me is that the standard of living for a first world country is actually lower there, right? Like just the general standard of living. And yes, I'm aware they have free medical care, but what I'm talking about is everything is like old and beat up. The houses are drafty and moldy, and everything is more antiquated and old, if that makes sense. The quality of the food, in terms of, and I don't mean because we have junk food in the U.S. too, but literally like things like the qualities of meat, stuff generally lower. The lower level of technology on average, just compared to, this major cities in the U.S. by comparison, like versus, at least versus Texas. So there's all of that. The culture is different, but I love the history. By that same token, though, even though everything is old, there's a lot of cool history by that same token, though. And the history there and the historical sites and the buildings, that's really cool. Right? All right. And what a display of mental illness we just observed. Ooh. Carson says, why does Stan Efferding recommend large quantities of red meat? I don't know. You would have to go read why he does that. Sarita says, are you basing this on I don't understand your question. Avon says, oh no, Jason. Yeah, I know. You should be terrified. No, I don't feel like traveling anymore. I'm done with my travels these days. If I travel anywhere, it'll be to places like Colorado or stuff. Tyra says, British or American women. Gosh, they're very different. But again, I mean, American women is a pretty broad category. And I'm not going to bash or anything or say things. I mean, I have my own stereotypes of British women. Having both been married to one and having lived there. So again, I mean, so do you want me to compare them, say, to Texas women? How do I say this? British women are a lot more forward in their pursuit of men than women are here, right? Avon, you should be sarcastic. It's just a troll, dude. Seriously. All right. I don't eat much red meat at all, actually, P-Money. I haven't had a steak in, gosh, months. I probably haven't had a steak in 6 months. Alexander says, do you think Europe cities are more beat up compared all of America, or do you mean just the America I'm used to? Keeping in mind, I am from Texas. I mean, everything it feels a little older and more rundown. Chris, you just said I would highly, well, yeah, but I'm already older and I've already traveled a lot. Avon, you need to stop trolling. There's obviously no concern for your safety. Jesus Christ. Seriously, bro. Tyrone, what do you mean? So have you been to the UK? Chris, what am I eating for protein? Greek yogurt, whey protein, fat-free dairy. P Money says, is shopping at a cheaper grocery store detrimental health versus a place like home? No, dude, normal food is fine. Miko, I'm not going to go down the list of other countries. Avon, how would they even know who you are? Like, seriously, dude. I'm not going to talk to you about this anymore, dude. Seriously. Because you just bought a membership, I don't want to ban you. But, if you're going to get silly with stuff like this, come on, dude. You're literally cluttering the chat with troll nonsense. Brady says, yeah, I'm fully aware there are ghettos in America, but that's not what we're talking about. Again, if you've been to the UK and you've been to the US, to any substantial amount, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So you're asking for a comparison of certain things. Right. Chris, I've obviously been to other countries. I just don't want to get into all of the details of it. It's quite frankly boring. When I'm trying to do fitness stuff. In fact, I'm getting kind of tired. So we're like 50 minutes in. I'm probably going to go ahead and wind this down here in a minute. Avon Pierce says, what would be the theoretical gain in muscle from doing 52 sets instead of 20? I would probably 0. I don't think you're going to gain anything from it. That data is questionable, even showing that at all. All right, so where we're at, we're at 50 minutes in. I'm going to go ahead and wind this down. I hope it's been informative. I love all of you guys and gals, and I will talk to you guys next time.